Don't shut down. We don't have a gavel, so I'll use the spoon. We got Derek here, so we can get started now. Appreciate everybody coming. A lot of talented, intelligent people in the room. I'm glad to be a part of this. So on behalf of the commissioners, welcome the planning board here, welcome the media. Glad you're all here. I'll go ahead and acknowledge the elephant in the room. We've had some controversies in the past. We've had things said between folks that maybe should or shouldn't have been, and I'm not going to get into that because my goal, if I have a task as chairman of this board, it is to move forward. I don't mind looking at the past, talking about the past, but I think we need to. And I said to somebody, had a nice conversation about it, that if you look at it in sports terms, I don't as much want to talk about the game last Friday night because we know what happened there. I want to talk about the game next Friday night. We'll look forward. So with that said, that's sort of where I am, and I hope that's where everybody here is.
I'll echo everything you just said. I think that it's very important. I said this a few weeks ago that plan is not regulation. Planning is deciding when you need regulation. I mean, that's how you do it. And I think that we've got, while we don't have a step-by-step, what I would call a step-by-step plan, we've got a pretty good guideline. And we've got probably the best poll we're ever going to get as to what the people of this county want in that master plan. Because it was created, the comprehensive plan, because it was created by the county people. It was created by citizens. It wasn't created by an outside agency who didn't pay for anybody to go out there and do it. And so what you say is exactly right. And I think it behooves us over the next however many years that I get to bark at you from one side of the table or the other, that we don't put that thing on the shelf, that we get it out, and that we look at where we want to go, and that we develop the details of the plan in the area that this board decides that we want to set as priorities for them. But I echo exactly what you said. I agree with you 100%. But I don't want anybody to think that I think we should go out, and you don't either, I know, go outside and create another plan after we just spent all that time doing. We ought to look at what the master plan tells us, and let's see what we need to do to kind of march down that path. But you're right, it does not have the detail to be executable.
I'd like to keep my comments to the planning board to thank them for what they've done. I mean, I've worked with this board, most of them on this board for many years. And through it all, everything that we worked on, they was always, it took 2 years to change one word. Everybody remembers those days. So I appreciate your perseverance and your patience, not only with this board, but with the work that you do. It is tedious and slow, most of the time controversial, and we all recognize that.
I would like to say that I appreciate everybody's time. I've been volunteers and volunteers on other boards too, and I know a lot of times it's not appreciated, and lots of times people, they really raise hell if you don't do exactly what they want. I know what it feels like too. But for people who are volunteers, planning boards, same as all the other boards we got, I'd like to thank each and every one of them for the time that they spend doing it, because you could be doing something else. But keeping in mind that I think that every one of us is working one goal, people making it.
Years, different capacities, but planning is not just coming up with rules and regulations. A lot of people think that's what the planning board does, is comes up with guidelines and rules and regulations and ordinances and so forth. But like somebody mentioned, the real job of planning is planning for the future of the county, and it takes a commitment, because you don't make any money. You're lucky to get a meal once a year out of it, and we're going to do that tonight. But
when I think of planning, I'm not thinking about today. I'm thinking about tomorrow, and I'm thinking about Macon County that they're hopefully going to grow up in one day. Those were some of the prominent thoughts that were on my mind when I wrote this. So I'll look at you some, and I'm going to read some, and we'll try to work my way through this. As I'm sure most of you realize, I was recently handed the task of not only being a Macon County Commissioner, but also the challenge of being the liaison to the Macon County Planning Board. I've heard that this is everything from political suicide to a completely thankless task. But y'all know what? I'm ready for this because I know a little secret. You see, each of you that are sitting here tonight deeply love this county. We all call it home. And if we didn't, we wouldn't be sitting here this evening. And if we can all find it within ourselves to try and respectfully work together, listen to each other, and try to understand each other's reasoning, then we will be able to make our home a better place, not only for us, but also for the many future generations that are rapidly approaching. Speaking of future generations, a while back I was watching Alice in Wonderland with my 2 children, and an exchange of words caught my attention. It went something like this. Alice says, "Will you tell me which way I ought to go from here?" Mr. Cat says, "That depends a good deal on where you want to get." Alice follows, "I really don't care where." And then the cat smartly responds, "Then it doesn't matter which way you go." From this very simple exchange, we can all understand that Macon County needs plans and planning. Unlike Alice, we all know and we can all agree upon where we want to go. It's very simple. We all want a great place to live and call home. We all want happiness and the ability to enjoy our daily lives with our family and our friends. We all want our home to have opportunity. We all want our home to be safe. And we all want it to be rich in beauty. And thus the great problem arises. How can we all agree upon the task of how to make our home have all of these characteristics which I just mentioned? Yes, that is the great challenge, because believe it or not, we are all trying to reach the very same goal. We just haven't agreed upon how we get there. Remember the little secret, the fact that we all love this county? I hope we will all remember that love for Macon County and set the needs for our county above personal feelings. As the planning board continues its important work in Macon County, let's rise above our differences and work together as a team to make a difference for our community and our prized future generations. Each one of us here this evening has the potential to make a difference in this county, either for the good or for the bad. And I know from working with each one of you that you will choose to work for the good of Macon County. As for me, I give each of you my word, each of you, that as your liaison to your board, I will work with each of you to the best of my abilities, because I want to make a difference for the common good. I can look each one of you in the eyes and say this with the utmost confidence, because each night when I look in my own son's eyes and see the admiration and uncertainty that he gives me, I want and I need to know that I'm doing everything I can to make his home the best place possible. It's that easy. It's love. We all have this same feeling. We have all shared it. And thus we all have the desire to make our home all that it can be. Let me end by saying this. The question is not if our county is going to change. The question is how. Let's all agree to work together for the betterment of our county, our community, and our home. After all, our children have entrusted each of us with being good stewards, and we shouldn't consider anything less than leaving them with an even better legacy than what we were left.
I think, with regards to the last year, I can remember last February, was it? Macon Bank Corporate Center. We were having the same kind of meeting. And at that meeting, I presented the final draft of the comprehensive plan that the planning board worked so hard to accomplish. And at that point, we were given 3 tasks. We were given finish the comprehensive plan, begin review of the subdivision ordinance, and start the discussion on having a steep slope ordinance. And within 2 months following that, the comprehensive plan was done. It was the first comprehensive plan that's ever been adopted for Macon County.
We voted on that in May.
In May. May. So it was kind of like I guess you could call it was like being at Six Flags for a few months, you know, riding a roller coaster. Individual members have taken a lot of heat, but I would like to say that it has been such an honor to work alongside this group and watch how they've handled that and watch how they too have kept pressing forward in the face of adversity and in the face of, everybody, is everybody in with what we're doing? Does everybody appreciate what we're doing? They question that a lot of times. But at the end of the day, they kept pressing forward and they kept working hard, and I really admire that, and I was proud to be alongside and be a part of that.
It is Sam again, a very intelligent group, a very capable group, and we can work through with this group, not what we can't. And Derek was certainly an asset, but he's still there. But it's this planning board that makes it happen. It is my hope that we can get away from just driving ordinance after ordinance after ordinance, or reviewing ordinance after ordinance after ordinance, and do some serious planning. Anybody that's looked up in the past few years can see that it's not going to be what we thought it was going to be 5 or 6 years ago. So we need to change direction, we need to change plans, but somebody needs to make that decision. And somebody needs to decide which way is the way we need to go, and what you want this planning board to go with. So we're relying on you, gentlemen, to give us that direction.
Outline, and we can work toward achievement.
What if we task Commissioner Tate to meet with you and Jack? Maybe you guys can meet. We've got a meeting May 8th. Is that right? That's election day.
That's a sure.
And we could agree on maybe some direction, some goals at that time, and then you guys meet. You guys meet when? May. It's after that. It's after
17th, 15th.
Well, Sherman, I think it'd be fairly simple. I mean, you've had Jack working on it, people's bringing in what works and what don't work. And so, when I've been involved as liaison to this department, we've been involved with some things that don't work in the subject. We've already changed it, I believe, 4 times. But we knew that when we passed it, that it would always need to be upgraded and changed. We left that in there. Folks worked on this thing so hard. So, and Derek, you've seen every plan that's come through there since we put this in place. What worked, what don't work, what needs to be fixed, to make it easier for the, this is be customer friendly is what we want it to be. But, it needs to be tweaked. And now that Chester is here, and Chester has really never had an opportunity to get into this subdivision, or he's never been instructed to do so until now. And once that's done, I think we can get a whole lot clearer picture, and it'll help in your work, it'll help the customer. And that the customer is a citizen. So that's who we want to make it to work for.
Derek, Jack, help me out. I may have slept since then, but I think when we opened the discussion, didn't you have a few?
Yes, and those folders, the planning board still has those folders.
That's what, there was a few specific items that had arisen, that had been a problem. And that was, I think, where we had started. And so I think you may be farther down the road to doing what he's talking about than you think you are.
And you got that. Okay.
We could provide that to you and discuss that. I mean, if you would like to discuss that and any more concerns or goals you might have, but the broader the goal,
Okay.
the broad sweeping goals, and then the planning board can fill in the specific.
Yeah, I don't think we need to give you step by step.
Right.
What to look at, what not to. But I agree with Ronnie. I think the whole idea is to make it user friendly and
He did a great job of aligning the problems that had arisen in the past with that ordinance since it was amended. I mean, that's a heck of a start.
Yeah. Is there something you can add to that?
Those are the problems that I saw in the enforcement end of it, and it's pretty
Lamar.
Well, that's what read in the ordinance. It says every 2 years they'll bring the problems to the planning board. be reviewed and fixed the things that
Exactly.
are wrong.
That's exactly right.
And
Exactly
really,
right.
that's all we're supposed to be trying to do. We're not trying to redo the whole
That's all,
thing.
that's all.
Fix the problem.
Exactly.
And I think they can be
Okay.
fixed pretty easy.
I would think that probably, especially Jack and Derek especially, but even me as a commissioner, and probably all of you, have had citizens, concerned citizens come up and say, I've got a problem with this. I think we will probably create some bullet lists of our own of problems that we've seen. I'm sure each of you on this board will probably have bullet lists that you have. Hopefully we'll be able to attack all those, make some improvements. I'm gonna do my absolute best to communicate to you these gentlemen's thoughts. And I'll do my best to communicate to them your thoughts. The root of a whole lot of evil is either miscommunication or lack of communication. And I don't want to be the problem as a middleman. So I'll be probably taking lots of notes and back and forth, delivering small speeches.
Of course, the trick is always is to make the changes needed, would be better user friendly, but yet not take the guts of the ordinance and we're gonna have an ordinance. That's the key, is to do what makes it user friendly, but yet have an ordinance that's effective and that works. And we agreed when this was passed that, I think the board agreed. Yes, I'm the only one left out of that board. You're the only county commissioner.
No,
I don't think.
no.
They've been some many changes, giving you about a midnight. But I think that was the agreement when we passed this, so I think that was discussions we had.
And I said to start with, Ron, you have to realize, you got a year's experience, 4 months experience. And so we're, 3 out of the 5. This is a really brand new thing to us too. And it's a learning curve, and I'll admit that.
And as I say, I respectfully ask, at the same time, I'd like to give some comments about all the rest of it.
Mr. Chairman, it'll be in the minutes, just like the minutes from our last meeting.
Correct. And I've got it based on our,
I'm not talking about this.
No, the minutes, I mean, the official minutes, Mike's scribbled just as only he can read.
Job security. He's got it on tape.
So you can give us a copy of that.
I've got just got a letter prepared. I don't know if Ron is satisfied with what you're talking about, but I had, based on our board retreat and based on our conversations in the last little bit about this, and including tonight, and I think this agrees with this. I've just got, this is to the planning board from the Macon County Commissioners. Ladies and gentlemen, upon agreement with the Macon County Board of Commissioners, we do hereby request that the Macon County Planning Board research and review the Macon County subdivision ordinance and provide recommendations back to the Board of Commissioners for potential improvements. We request the planning board work together as a team to reach a legitimate compromise or potential changes. The Board of Commissioners will then review the recommended improvements and possibly direct the county attorneys to write or rewrite the ordinance or regulation for consideration at the public hearing for potential approval. And I didn't direct this conversation, but we had it before, and I think this follows, so I'm going to include this. Following the review of the subdivision ordinance, the Board of Commissioners will direct the next task. Potential future assignment, and this is not anything we're doing now, but it was alluded to by Commissioner Beal. Potential future assignment might include, but will not be limited to, review the soil erosion sedimentation control, sign ordinance, watershed protection, comprehensive plan, or other pertinent matters the commissioners may deem appropriate.
Mr. Chairman, it may be appropriate for the commissioners to just very quickly vote to approve that letter and attach it to the minutes. And in that way, Mr. Hayman's concern about things being accurately recorded and there being a good record of it will be achieved that way.
I'd be glad to entertain that.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the letter that I just read to be given to the Macon County Planning Board. Any discussion?
What was the nice things that you read there out of it? What things will be reviewed? About the last sentence you read.
Review the next task. Potential future assignments might include, but not limited to, review of soil and erosion and sedimentation control, sign ordinance, watershed protection, comprehensive planning, and other pertinent matters that the board of commissioners might deem appropriate.
I'd like to suggest that you add in that high impact ordinance.
Okay. I have no problem. That wasn't meant to be an exclusive list, and that did come up tonight.
Well, that's fine.
It's not tasking, that's what we're looking at. We'll figure out what the next one is after we get this.
I will, high impact. Okay.
Yes, sir, I'll be happy to modify.
Okay, you'll accept that? Okay. Do we have a motion to second? Do we have any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously.
Preaching to the choir here, they probably know more about the general statute governing subdivision ordinance than I do, but there are limitations on what you can and can't do, and they're governed by those statutes. And so you do have to, keep an eye on those as you endeavor making changes.
I think all Jimmy's asking is if this board would give our blessing to you guys inviting Chester to come to your meetings, and of course he'd be on our payroll, and I think the answer to that is yes.
I'd love to see that.
I agree with Jimmy. If you're in something you're not sure if it needs some kind of legal tweaking, or if it can be done, or if it can't be done, then you wouldn't know that till you read the minutes, and they've already wasted an hour talking about it.
Well, I think it's a good point, and I think if you're headed in that direction of changing something in the ordinance, you cut down on the potential for misunderstanding if you get a hold of that issue very early in the conversation rather than it coming up late in the conversation. And as you know, we don't need to encourage opportunities for miscommunication. We're going to
No, we don't. We're going to fix that. Jack or Chester, do we need to authorize the planning board? I mean, can the planning board call you to come do that, or do we need to say it's okay to do that?
Well,
Do we vote to do it, or what? I guess what I'm saying is, if a county employee or a county department wants to call you and have you come do something, that probably would need to be.
Typically, if I have any concern about whether or not this is something that the board would want done, or that county manager would want done, I'll pick up the phone and I'll call Jack. Otherwise, I just do it.
So you just want consensus, this board, is everybody okay with that?
Well, this board has asked for that for years.
Yeah. Let's just
The
do
reason
that.
it's such a big deal, Mr. Chairman, you gotta know that before, we were given the advice that that wasn't the way to proceed, if y'all will remember that conversation. And we went ahead and we'd do work for hours and hours, and then come back and say, oh, no, this is, these folks remember that. And I think I was the only one there, but I was there. And so, that's one reason this planning board is, asked that question. I'm so glad to hear you say what you said, because it can save hours and
I think
hours
it can
and
save a
hours.
lot of time,
And frustration on
and
their
I
part.
really think it can cut down on misunderstanding.
Agreed.
You have a consensus of the board to utilize our attorney. So you guys can decide how you want to do it.
Well, that was one frustration we had. It seemed like her intent, after it left our table, got lost in a lot of sections and stuff. That's the reason I'm glad we did go back. And I'm with Ronnie. I remember when we asked for terms to be added.
Wasn't the way to proceed. That was the answer. Remember it well.
We've got all new players now.
Different game.
Rejection of records and what else.
Hopefully that will be the case.
I think it's good. I'm sure each of you can attest. I've seen this board, as a member of it, get bogged down on one definition for literally 30 minutes before we move on to the next item. That can definitely make things a lot more efficient.
I guess I could start, since I've been the chairman for quite some time. I've sat at a lot of tables over 27 years, developers, school boards, colleges, everything else. And I can honestly say I've never sat at a table with a group of people. We look diverse. It's like Jack said, we do like a family, we'll argue sometimes, we come together. And y'all take a lot of heat, unnecessarily in my opinion. I've taken personal heat, and I think that just goes with the job description personally, but I admire what you all do. you obviously love this county, you wouldn't have stuck in there. There's not many sane people that know what you've done. I'm glad we're having this meeting tonight. I was some things that I'm kind of curious about. We've talked about ordinances and how they can stop business or whatever, but I haven't heard any specific ordinance that's got us in this log jam we're in now. I'd just be curious if there is one out there. I think that's what we're going to be addressing. If we have one that's really stopping commerce and growth and everything else, I think that will be another one on our priority list. And if we don't, then we do need to look ahead. Planning is 20, 25 years out. And this generation is going to clean up the mess that we make. I promise you, we need to be careful about what we do there. We talked about our task and everything else. And one thing I think Jimmy mentioned about soil erosion, we need to review that. I'm a little confused on that. I thought the watershed council had already done that. And that's something that you're taking for 2 years.
I'll address that.
Okay. And, so do we go back and address that? Or?
I don't think you need to, is the short answer.
Okay.
We'll address that. That ball's in our court.
Yeah, but let me interject, but I think what it was, the soil erosion plan that we had and what they submitted, there's another thing that that's on Chester's plate. And his plate is, since he came back, and not to say that's an excuse, but it's been there a long time. But
That's exactly right.
This board is not instructed our attorney to say, put these two side by side and let's see what's right and what's wrong, what we do. And that's one of the reasons. Chester's been on board for, how long, Chester? As an interim.
About 2 years.
Almost 2 years, right when he come. And believe me, we don't want to get into who shot who or whatever. But now, Chester Jones has, as county manager, kind of test. And I loaded him up again today. So, I mean, that's one of the things, one of the reasons, but that is, that is being worked on. That's all I can tell you.
There's a lot of excuses. There's not a very good reason.
That's right.
But the bottom line is that was going to come up in May, but since it's here, Mr. Tate, I was going to give you a chance to look that over. Since it's here, yeah, we've got to bubble that up to the top of the inbox for Chester, because it's no small document, Chester. You're not going to do this one in a night. And the NCWC has waited for a very long time. They're to the point now where they no longer have a reason to meet, because that is their reason to meet, and they did a marvelous job. And I think when you sit down with it, you'll see it's as good a job as I've ever seen as far as showing you what has changed and what hasn't. But no, I don't think that the action is in your court. That's just my personal opinion. I'm 1 of 5. I don't think the action's in your court. I think it's in our court. I was going to bring it up in May, but since it's out there.
So I guess what I'm saying is, if we want to attract a mixture of citizens that have all those different skills and all those different educational levels, we cannot be the cheapest necessarily. We have to look at having enough taxes so that we can afford to bring the infrastructure up to speed to attract other people, not just the lowest people. I don't mean that with disrespect, not the lowest income people. So I kind of see this as a vision. I'm saying, if we don't change the method. There's one other point that I thought about this morning, and my wife tells me I go crazy sometimes. We could be at a tipping point politically. When you bring in, because of the infrastructure that you've created and the rules and regulations you've created and the low taxes you've created, you've also created another factor. You've got new voters coming in who rely on the low taxes because that's the one place they can live in, and the low income. And so they're going to vote for a politician who will support that. So now you got this downward spiral. I don't think being the lowest and the cheapest community or county in North Carolina is a reward. I think it's a return for the future progress of Macon County.
Anybody else want to belabor the meeting or stretch it out? I think it's been very productive and good. Carl, you got to say anything? You want to say anything?
Well, just a couple quick comments. I think, first off, thank you for the commissioners for having this meeting. I think it's good when we sit down and communicate. One thing that was mentioned several times during this meeting that does concern me a little, And that's making a comparison with past legal, with current legal that we have. I don't think that's fair to who we currently have. I think the one meeting that we did have legal sitting at the table, I don't think anybody would dispute the fact that we moved through the subject rapidly.
Sure.
So I think there's a lot of value to that, and I think if nothing else good comes out of this meeting, that it's worth us getting together. There's within the planning board, there's a lot of different opinions about a lot of different things, and if you get them all to talk, you probably have a headache when you leave. But what happens is at the end of the meeting or meetings, however many it takes to get something resolved, typically it's a unanimous decision. Typically it's something that we can all be satisfied with, not necessarily happy, but we're satisfied that we've got something that's workable. That's kind of a unique situation to be in. So I think, you know, what the planning board would like to see, and I'm speaking for myself, is just some clear directive. You know, guys, go work on this. When you get done with it, bring it back, and we'll do what we want with it, and we'll give you a list of something else to do. And you know, I think the planning board has been able to do that and been productive in doing that. Other than myself, the planning board has a bunch of professional people on it that seem to work better when they're given a list of tasks and they buy into it and they work on it and complete it. Because they're a bunch of professional people, they tend to want to maximize their time that they spend there. And I think having Chester there will go a long way towards helping us move through issues. And I think in the end, it's not going to cost any more than if we did it, give it to Chester. Chester finds a lot of things about it that shouldn't be that way. It comes back to us, and we play the back and forth game. So you know, I think we've got our marching orders. You know, in respect to the subdivision ordinance, the past county employee that we talked about does have a good list, and there is a shopping list that exists for us to work on. I think it may be prioritized for us. So I think we've got that list that we can, you know, we get started on, work on it, and move forward.
Anything else? All minds are clear? Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Thank y'all for being here.
Thank you very much. I believe we got another little storm moving.